so much for being here today. We're here because really excited about bringing a new way of thinking, a new way of seeing, a new way of walking through the world through the Linking Center for Human Achievement. So I am the CEO and founder, and my vision is just to change, really change the world by looking at things in a very different way and humbly, and then inviting people into the conversation. So it's much less about what you should do and much more about what you could do.
All right, that sounds good. Okay, and I know that Thanksgiving is coming up. Oh, how exciting that is.
Yeah.
And do you have any plans for Thanksgiving?
I'm going to see if I'm going to spend either a Friendsgiving or a time with my family, depending, because my family lives all over the world. So,
Yeah.
and they're abroad in Asia and in Europe and as well as the United States. So we're just going to maybe plan and see. And then maybe for the holidays for like the winter holidays, we'll travel.
Amazing. But what I find very interesting these days is how do you survive your family? Because it's a little bit chaotic, right? And I know there's a lot of ways to do that, but I was thinking that maybe we can do like a top 5 of things that how we can survive that Thanksgiving with your family.
Yes. So we created a list on TikTok just to
Yeah.
help people, and I can definitely expand on that list, going from 5 to 1, because 1 is the hardest. One is I'm not gonna lie. 1 is the
Okay.
hardest thing to do.
Uh-huh.
5 is a little bit easier. So 5.
Yeah, let's start with the first one. So the first one is try to leave your armor or
We'll
malware.
start with 5.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So we're gonna start with 5 because 5 is the least. It's kind of the least challenging. The 1 is the most challenging, so it becomes very difficult.
All right. Okay, so let's start with rally around those generational or cultural differences.
Yeah, and so everybody in your family and your household is going to be very different. Right now, the most contentious part of maybe the family dynamic is the political scene in the United States. It has divided us tremendously as a nation, tremendously across families. There are people that don't talk to people in their families because of this topic. And so if you can go into it with this idea that the boomers and the boomers and before, so the millennials and the Gen Xers and things like this, who have a strong opinion about the political setting or any contentious kind of topic, that if they can step into the fact that the boomers have reached an age in life that their minds are a little bit more fixed, their hearts are a little bit more fixed, their opinions are based on decades more experiences than we have, and they haven't been in the conversations about neuroplasticity and getting your brain to learn and unlearn things. So they're jumping into the situation with a much more fixed mindset. And if you can wrap your brain, and then if you add to that this cultural experience of life too, in different households, so in Black families, what that's like, what it means to be in a certain political realm, that being Black adds a whole other dimension and a whole other dynamic that changes across generation as well. And so if you can go in already understanding they're going to be different, their experiences are going to be different, they're coming from a space that is not the same as my story, and if I just give that grace, the people that are a little bit younger than that do have kind of the brain squishiness or the brain space or the brain flexibility more than sort of a 76-year-old who's already like really fixed in their design. And so it's going to be maybe more on them to open the door culturally, to be a little bit more open to what things might be being said that are different.
Right.
That's a good place to start.
That is a very good place to start. And I personally believe that once we are very curious about these differences, what makes other people different from us, you will learn that we don't have that much difference at all.
Exactly. And so I think number 4,
Yes.
like that takes us right into number 4, which is to approach your family as though you're doing an ethnography on strangers. Like you're doing a social experiment on strangers that you love, because obviously they're your family. That bond is there. They have your story. You have their story. But you maybe not like them as much. You know, there might be personalities that are a little bit harder to get along with, or opinions that are a little bit harder to swallow.
Yeah.
And so exactly what you're saying about being curious. So that curiosity to ask questions instead of being the person who's talking, and instead of being the person who is painting a picture, trying to be right, using your narrative, using your words to get your point across. Use your words and your curiosity to ask the questions to understand deeper what their opinion really is and where does it come from. And so I call it, I kind of refer to it as a human being a fire. And so we respond to just the flame, and we're each responding to this hot, hot flame. But I want us to look a little bit deeper and figure out what is actually burning. What is the fuel that's burning this? What is the emotion behind this? What is the feeling? What is the sentiment? What are the stories underneath what is being said on the surface? Because that's gonna be where the golden information lies. Like, Grandpa, how did you end up being a Republican? Or, what was were you always that way? When did you start, or if people switched or swayed? Then ask questions that out of curiosity, interest, and love, and then listen with your whole heart for the answer. That will alleviate a lot of the anger too that you're feeling, and because you're going in open and curious.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let me dissect a little bit of what you said.
Sure.
First is you mentioned that sometimes you dislike family members and stuff like that. So I just want to ask, is that normal? Is that okay to sometimes dislike a family member?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Because every single person in that household gathered around that family dinner is going to come with their own set of stories, wounds, harms, injuries. And unfortunately, one of the things that keeps us in that space where I've been injured, so now I'm going to take it out on you, is that the only part that you hear is the part that I'm going to take this out on you. And the
Right.
way that people do that when they're harmed or when they're injured or when their heart's heavy is unfortunately to take it out on the people that they love around them. So it is very, very real experience that you're in a space with somebody like your mom, for instance, and your mom's been wounded and hurt and all this other kind of, and the way that it shows up, the way that it translates is that she's going to put you down. It's going to be really critical. It's going to be trying to guide you under the guise of love, but it's going to feel really bad for you. And so that leads to a little bit of dislike. It leads to a whole lifetime built of resentment if that's been your reality your whole life. And so when you go into that situation, you're going to have your armor up. And we'll talk about armor a little bit more in a minute. And so if somebody is very, very much doing you harm in the situation where you're sitting down for Thanksgiving dinner, which could be a thing, then what we want you to do is get out. If it's really terribly harmful, we want you to get out. If it's really terribly harmful in the way that it's a lot of criticism and a lot of like, why aren't you married yet? And all this, then I think that's easier. That's easier to understand. The fire that's being said is like the top of the flame is like, why aren't you married? And that's what you're hearing as an insult or a criticism. But if you look under the fodder, it's, I'm worried that this person is going to be alone. I really want them to find happiness. Like, that's what's the feeling that's driving that sentence. So if you can respond to what's happening at the underneath of why that sentence being said, rather than just the sentence alone, then it alleviates a lot of some of those wounds, and it makes it so that they don't hurt as bad. And if you can make it hurt less, then you can go into the situation a little bit more loving and a little bit more open without all that resentment.
I understand. I completely agree with you. And I just wanted to ask, so it's not just about curiosity, I think, based on what you were saying. It's also about the openness with really trying to go past the grass, right?
Exactly.
And to really understand that everything comes from love, right?
Exactly right. Exactly right. And in our society, people think that love is all that there is, but love is actually an action, and the action that it translates to is consideration. So that's a really great point, because what I'm trying to get people to do to survive this holiday season with their families is to really step into their consideration, and they're considering the role, the life, the narrative of the person that they usually doesn't feel like they're considering them, like my parent is considering me, but I'm gonna do everything in my power to step back and consider them as a whole human person, so that I'm not jumping right into the space of dehumanizing you. And that is actually an act of love. So if you do love in action, if you do this consideration, which to me is love in action, then it softens a lot of the relationships that have been hardened over time. It starts to chisel away at them, and you start to get at the squishy core of your dear grandfather. You know what I mean? So it's really a gift if you can start to do it that way.
Yeah, I love that you said that we need to humanize
Yes,
people.
exactly. Yeah.
Because when you feel like a lot of people are taking advantage of you, or you don't feel appreciated for the things that you do and you sacrifice, it's so easy to villainize everyone,
Exactly right.
right?
That's
And
exactly right.
I love that we need to be reminded that we're also human beings, and we're dealing with a lot too, not just on the things, but we also have to reach out. And that's what the important thing that I'm getting from this conversation. And
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, no, that's very, very accurate. And that word villain is a little bit nutty, because if there's a villain, then you get to be the victim, right? And if you're the victim, the more you're the victim, everyone around you is a villain. The villains are dehumanizing you, you feel, and then you are exactly dehumanizing them. That's where the criticism, insults, that guy is such an a-hole. Those kind of things serve to bring us, give us back the power that we think that person took away from us, that villain took away from us somehow. And so if you stay in that victim mentality, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to make those connections. It's real that somebody has made you feel small, and I love the fact that that you are in tuned enough with yourself to be like, no, I feel somebody has done me wrong, that I'm a victim for. But I also love the space that you can decide, but I'm not going to treat this person like a villain anymore. I'm going to step around it and figure out why, be really curious about what's happening, see if it's my reality, feel it, if it really is my reality, if it has anything to do with me, and then make me the hero of my story and make them the hero of their story. So it really becomes a very powerful tool.
Wow, that's an amazing insight. I love this kind of conversation. It makes you realize that we are all human beings. We make mistakes, and we tend to be a little bit more into a state of fear with the people that we love.
Absolutely.
That's perfect. And just one more advice. Okay, so I was just curious if, so coming into Thanksgiving, and you already know people, how their attitudes are, your family members, right? So coming in, you know that you already have some insecurities, and you have like not so good experience with interacting with them, and their ego, and your ego as well. So what is your advice to be more open, to come in there without this kind of resentment
Yes.
that has been built before?
That is going to be the hardest one, and so we left that for number one.
I'm
We
sorry.
have advice. We have
I'm
advice
so
for that, but
sorry.
that's the hardest one. So yeah, we leave that for number one. The most
Okay.
important thing that you can do to save your soul, to save your spirit and your being and your existence for the holidays.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we can go circle back
Yeah,
later.
we'll circle back to that one.
Okay, let's go with number 3 then.
Okay, number 3.
Number 3 is be super invested in making other people feel right, even better if you meant it.
Yeah, so this is really, really cool. It actually very much bleeds into the last part of the conversation that we were having.
Yes.
So there is this school of thought called nonviolent communication, and we all know about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You know, the need for food, shelter, clothing, and that kind of thing. He went a little bit deeper. We also need, we all need to belong.
Yeah.
And then in nonviolent communication, one of the needs that struck me when I was a graduate student was the need to be right. And the need to be right is very, very tricky, because from the time that you're 0 all the way to about age 2, your whole life is about being right. Every smile is applauded, every sound is applauded, you're like celebrated as a whole human being. Your whole life is
You're a
about celebration.
superstar.
Yes, exactly. Your whole life is about celebration. If you've got people around you that are celebrating you, with babies are so cute. So everything, a toe, a toenail, everything is celebrated. Maybe not crying in the middle of the night, but we'll talk about that in another episode. But because of that, by the time you reach age 2, it is very jarring to go from everything being celebrated to now you have parameters. You're being told no, you're being told don't. In families where there's a lot of aggression, that the child's name becomes a swear word when they're doing something wrong, and all of a sudden the narrative of your life changes, and it changes for some people in a very terrible way, and in subconscious ways that we don't understand as parents, that we're imposing on our children. And so I think that my theory is that you spend the whole rest of your life trying to get back to being that right, to being as right as you were, right? And if you can be in a household where schooling is heralded very highly, and so if you get good grades, then that's the way that you're right, and so teachers and people around you will applaud that, and that will become a space for you to get those accolades, right? But when you become an adult, you start to hear it less and less. We switch gears and we go from sometimes accolades to most of the time criticism, and that's the society that we're in right now. And I think it's because we're trying to get back to the point where it actually feels good. And so I guess my challenge is to try to make the person in the room feel right. So we're going into these arguments, or we're going into these debates completely digging our heels into the dirt, making sure that people know that we're right. I am right, and I'm trying to get you to say, "Oh yeah, you're right," so that I can feel really great about myself, because there's power in that language. And so my challenge is to have other people go into the room really, really intentionally trying to find ways to make the other person right.
Okay, that's kind of challenging in a sense,
It really
because we
is.
also have our own ego.
Exactly right.
You're right.
Exactly
And that's quite challenging. But okay, so you mentioned that it's important that during the childhood times that we are being applauded, and afterwards we have this negative words like don't know. So how do we first say no to someone without saying no?
I think you try to set it up for the win-win. So the name of my actual company is called Gentle Commerce, and I am all about setting up relationships that are for the lowercase win for me and the capital lowercase w win for me and the uppercase W win for you. But that's the way that I move through the world. I move through the world, and my whole thing is that as a 20 years plus experienced mental health counselor, I know that everybody is struggling with something. My goal is not to add more to your struggle. My goal as a healer is to try to take things off, to try to make it feel better. And so I can do it naturally because of my profession. I can try to get us to a point where if I have to say no to you, it's going to be the most gentle no you've ever heard in your life, and you're going to end up feeling just as good as I am about the situation. We don't normally do that because we're more invested in our experience than we are in the experience of people around us, which to me is like the source of social anxiety, right? But if I can get to a place where I am more invested in your experience of the situation than I am of you, of how I'm experiencing the situation. So I'm more invested that you have a good time in this experience than I do, that you feel safe in this space than I do, then I can walk smoothly and gently through this relationship, right? And I don't have to take away anything from me. And my ego is still intact because I'm still doing what is very much in line with my values. I'm making it so that you are having a great experience of this experience along with me.
Okay, that's very interesting, and I find it quite challenging as you know we age, that I feel like we are less and less patient
Oh,
with
yes.
a lot of things.
Oh, yes.
And but as you mentioned, words are very powerful.
They really
they
are.
can hurt you more than the physical abuse, right?
Exactly right.
if
Exactly right.
if I can say that.
Yes, no, you absolutely can. Yeah. Yeah, and that's, I think, one of the things why the need to be right is so ingrained in us, and we don't know it as that. We're not experiencing that. Oh, I'm angry because I'm not right in this situation, or oh, it's the ego that feels it the most, and so it comes out in different ways. It comes out as anger, it comes out as screaming, it comes out as crying, it comes out as isolation, and so I think that what we can pour back into that is knowing that that's what's happening, and instead of still responding to the fact that they're angry, just responding to the fact of why. Why? What's going on for you that you're screaming at me right now? And is it something that I can do? Is there anything that I can do to help alleviate it? Even if it means I'm going to go for a walk and let you have 5 minutes. Even if it means I have to protect, I'm doing it out of a space of, because I'm on your side and I want you. So the people around me that had really terrible tempers, and if I get angry, or if I feel that I don't like to feel angry, but when it happens, I go inward. I don't scream. I get super quiet, and that's how the people around me know. And I suck all the energy out of the room. I leave people with no oxygen.
Bring your power
yes,
back.
exactly. And it's terrible. It's terrible. I had to figure out. I had to realize. Oh my gosh, I can really like suffocate people in this situation. And I realized when people were angry, what they were really telling me when they were screaming at me, yelling at me, is something hurts. Something you
Yes.
did hurt. The fire, the flame is anger, but the bottom, the fodder, is like melting gum. Like it's not good, right? Something has happened, terrible has happened to. And so I can take the time to pause and figure out what's going on, like what went down. And especially during Thanksgiving, it's so stressful. There's so many different moving parts to it, especially if you're the person hosting, and it can
Yes.
stress can make you put you right on edge. And so a burnt turkey or something like that can push you right on over on top of everything else that you're taking care of. And so being really gentle about approaching the people that have terrible tempers. I don't feel like I am a victim of their terrible tempers anymore. Now I am a sociologist wanting to find out more, and literally that makes it so that it doesn't hurt me at all. It used to hurt me. People's raised voices could cause me to go into tears. Like my dad would raise his voice and just like silent, it would hurt so bad that silent tears. That doesn't happen to me anymore.
I'm so glad.
Yeah, that doesn't.
I'm
Depending
so
on the
glad.
situation, sometimes tears will come just out of the visceral reaction, but underneath is like, oh, I wonder what's going on with this man. I want to protect him. I need this person to be on the planet as long as he possibly can, and so I'm going to protect his inner peace by figuring out what's possibly happening, and if there's anything that I can do to soothe it. That's my new rule with my dad and my family. I want to soothe them. I do not want them to have a bad experience of life, and that takes us right into number 2.
Yes. But one more thing before we go to number 2.
Sure, sure.
I'm trying to learn a lot of things with our conversation. And do you think that aside from soothing people, is it also important that you understand that to realize that sometimes you are also in the wrong in certain situation, that
Yeah.
that it's okay that you also make mistakes, and this also happens.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you're the type of person that's just like, you know what, I have a temper, you're just going to have to get over it. If that's the type of person that you are, and you want to hold on to the fact that sometimes you may throw darts at people and the darts are going to land, and then when they land they're going to come back they're going to react to you in a way that's not going to feel good for you potentially, then at least just knowing it, oh, I'm the one that threw that dart. I threw the dart first. I threw the dart first, and forgive me, I responded to my pain, and that's the only way right now that I know how to tell you that I'm hurt, is to take this dart and throw it at you. That's the only way I know how. And if you can forgive that in yourself and be like, this is the only way I know how to say that I'm hurting, or that I'm uncomfortable, or that I'm anxious, or that I'm nervous, or whatever experience that's going under, whatever the fodder is that's creating the fact that you took a bunch of darts and threw them at the people around you, understand that that's why, is because you're uncomfortable, and 2, understand that those darts are going to land, and then those people are going to respond to you. And so if you're okay with those things, then of course, yeah, give yourself permission to be exactly who you are. And then if they're asking for you to take responsibility, maybe try eventually, when you feel comfortable and calm, to be able to take responsibility for, like, let me just take that dart right out of your arm. I'm real sorry about that. I had a moment. I'm really sorry. I feel better. You know what I mean? But yeah, if you're not in a place where you can control your nervous system just yet, those will come in later episodes about how you can actually do that. And your default factory setting is to take a bunch of people around you and hurt them.
Yeah.
That at least the awareness of that can bring you peace. Like, I know that this is what I do. I'm working on it. If you want to work on it, I know that this is what I do, and that's just who I am. If you don't want to work on it, so that you're not eating yourself up either.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is it's also very important that we reflect on things. For example, if something happened, certain incident in your life, you also have to reflect on what was your contribution, right?
Yes.
Towards that kind of
Absolutely.
chaos.
Absolutely. If you can get to that point where you're just like, ooh, I caused this. I took the grenade, I took the pin out, and I threw it, and that was all me. Most people don't. Most
Okay.
people don't, because
Why?
Because understanding your own fodder is probably one of the hardest things to do.
Oh.
Understanding what's driving you and what your emotional states are, how your nervous system is out of whack, is the most difficult thing to be able to do for yourself. You know that something's wrong, but you don't know what it is. We are not raised in a society, any culture. We are not taught how to be emotional humans. My whole premise behind my what a cute kid.
I know. I know.
What a cutie patootie. Oh my goodness.
I wish they could see it.
Yeah. My whole premise around my reason for being, my raison d'être, is that we are, so, Descartes was, I feel, therefore I am. But I honestly believe that right next to that is I think, therefore I am, was Descartes, and right next to that, I think, is I feel, therefore I act. So I feel something and then I act it. We don't spend near enough time raising people for their emotional prowess. We hope for the best. We use our words. We raise kiddos in the flame, not in the fodder space. I think now it's more and more common with gentle parenting and things like this to pay more attention to your child's emotional well-being. But before, no. And even 10 years ago, no, it didn't exist. And so they're new conversations. So doing it for yourself is really hard. And that is why we created an app that'll come out later that will help people be able to do it, because it's really hard. But that's why. It's because from one second to the next, you don't know what you're feeling. We're a slave to our emotions. Just naming one, the fact, I'm angry. What do I do now? You know what I mean? We don't take time to do that. We don't have the ability to do that. Nobody teaches us how to do that. And it's a huge fallacy in the human experience, I think.
Yes, I totally agree. And I want to touch a little bit of what we did with number 5, like the generational and cultural differences.
Absolutely, yes.
Because if what you mentioned. And I think that's relatable because, our parents and grandparents, they live in a very different times, and you also have to consider those things, that
absolutely
we never had a user manual, right?
Exactly.
How we're gonna go through life, really, how our emotions should be like. And before, it was very different, especially with not many people live that long.
Exactly
And
right.
and now we since we live longer, and we try to be more curious about other stuff, right? And I love that you said that. This is really quite a learning space for me as well.
That's great. Oh, good. I'm so glad. That makes me so happy.
Yes.
I think that the greatest thing that we can give our parents and the generations that came before us that are alive right now is grace. They were operating in this crazy world of survival. They talk about generational trauma, and the trauma that they inflicted on us will never, ever compare to the trauma that they experience, many people experience. So in my family, for instance, we were raised in a way that was very, very strict. It compared not at all to being raised in a situation where you got bones broken, where you got teeth knocked out. So there is no way that I can expect this human to be more healthy than me. I can't. You can't be healthier than me. I had such a different experience of life just 10, 20, 15, 20 years later than you did. I cannot hold you by the same standards. Your injuries go far deeper than mine, and all I can do is applaud the fact that you're still standing, that you raised 3 beautiful creatures, 3 beautiful humans, with all of that, with the memory of your parents beating the crap out of you. You know what I mean? And so I can't expect, I think it's cruel, or difficult, right? Difficult to then assign this human that was in survival mode the stigma of faulty parenting. You also did faulty parenting. You also didn't do enough for me. You didn't show this. And so for me, I'm like, okay. But also, I'm going to give you a hug because there was no manual and you did this broken. Like, you were not a whole. We are much more whole than our parents, especially, and I have to say, if our parents were doing things that felt especially terrible for us, verbal abuse, mental abuse, physical abuse, criticism, hypercriticism, keeping it like super strictness, then what I'm dealing with is not a whole human being. I can look at your parent as a third party bystander and think to myself, oh my goodness, that person needs help. They need a hug. They need to be seen. And so I can take a step back and understand that that's the place. And that's where I would hope everyone could be, because I think that's the source of healing. forget therapy and all this. I think the source for healing comes in a deep sense of internalized understanding that, my God, you had it rough. You had it rough. Yeah.
They did.
Yeah,
They did.
exactly.
It's a different
It was
beast.
different. It was
right?
a whole different beast.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
I totally agree, and I think that's one of the important lessons I've learned also last year, is to understand that your parents, they, when you were younger, you always look at them and be like, oh, you know better than me because you're older, and you're my dad, your mom, you know what you say is how I believe the world is, right?
Sure.
And then when you grow up and you realize that, hey, this is, this is their first time also navigating the world as a parent, as a
Exactly.
grandparent.
Exactly. Wow. I love that. I
Yes.
love that. Gives me goosebumps. That exactly. Yeah. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you
right.
also have to forgive them for their shortcomings.
Yeah.
And I think I love that you said that we just need a little bit of grace through life. And that's perfect. That's perfect.
Yay, thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Because the truth is, for number 2, they're not going to be with us.
Yeah.
Right? They're not always going to be with us. One of the great tragedies of life that you learn a little bit late in life is that it's hard, and you don't know why. The grown-ups know that it's hard. The kids, we are, just give us candy, like ice cream and cartoons, and we're totally happy. And so raising happy children is very much easier, right, than raising
Yes.
happy, healthy adults. Raising happy, healthy children will always be easier than raising happy, healthy adults. And the reason is because if you love someone, if somebody loves you, the scary part is that this is not infinite. It's not an infinite journey. Like, it ends, and these people that you love are going to be taken away from you, and it's too late. Every movie, right, as a somebody who walks more towards like the empathic and who has a very strong emotional memory, which we will discuss in other episodes. I have a very strong emotional memory. I remember from the time, my first emotional experience from the time that I was 2 and up. I have a very strong. That's good, because when I watch a movie and they tell me, love this person, because at the end of the movie they're going to be dead, then I can walk away from that movie being like, I'm calling everyone. I'm calling. That's how I can learn my lesson. Some people will never be able to get that lesson until it's too late, until they're now an adult fraught with regret because they didn't reach out to that one family member because they couldn't forgive them, because they were holding on like a rock to whatever it was that hurt them. And now they have, on top of that rock of hatred, now they have deep regret for not ever having tried to fix it. You don't have to fix it, and you don't have to forgive, but I think just putting in that space a little bit, going in that space a little bit, and trying, writing a letter that's just like, you know what, you effed me over and it sucked and it hurt, and also, thank you for being in my life, or whatever it is, however you want to end that sentence. But I think once you go into the family Thanksgiving, or the family dinner table, or whatever it is, however you celebrate these holidays, and look at the people around you, and just in that space, in that second, be like, thank goodness. Thank goodness. Thank goodness for the people whose eyeballs I get to see inside their soul, whose being and experience I get to experience in this space, right now, in this moment. Thank goodness for you. I think that's maybe what the holiday is about, what the holiday season is about, and a great reminder for, and slows us down to be able to do that. And I think that's magical, because next Thanksgiving may look very different.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. That's, I think, one of the hardest reality of life.
It's very
right?
difficult. Yes.
It is. And I think that for example, for our culture, I could say that there are a lot of times it's so even hard for parents to even say I love you back, right? And to me, it's they show it in a different way. So I think that you can also look at it in that sense, even though you want to hear the words.
Absolutely. Every
Yeah.
have you eaten is an I love you.
Yes.
Every why aren't you married yet is an I love you. It doesn't feel like it. It may not land like it, but that's exactly what it is. Those words are exactly what it is. One of my favorite things, favorite and most frustrating things about being in the mental health counseling space is that I would sit with families and parents. I would sit with teenagers that say, she doesn't get me, she doesn't love me, he hates me, blah 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 blah. And then I would sit with the parent, and they would tell me, we just can't reach them. We just want the best for them. We don't understand. And then I would put them in the same room together, and literally, viscerally, I would see kakung, 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 coming out of both parties. And I would think to myself, oh, literally is because they don't speak the same language. It's literally generationally they're not supposed to speak the same language in this, and especially in the United States society. In U.S. society, it's very, very common that parents and children do not speak the same language. In other cultures, other things help define the relationship a little bit more clearly, and so it doesn't exist maybe in other cultures as badly as it exists in the United States. But here, a teenager is supposed to rebel against their parents, and the parent is supposed to have a really tough time raising the teenager. But really, it comes down to language. You don't speak the same language, you don't speak the same code, but the message is exactly the same. I need you to love me. I want you to love me. Don't let me go. Just keep loving me keep like coddling me the way that you did when I was a toddler. Like all that stuff, that desire is there. And for the parent, everything that they say is fear-based. So don't get hurt, wear your helmet, wear your seatbelt, you can't go out at night. You know what I mean? Like, you can't visit your friends. All these you can'ts come from a place of, please don't let anything bad happen to you, this precious thing of mine. And we need a translator, right? We need a universal translator because it doesn't land that way. Like, don't do this doesn't land the same way as I love you. And some people are very, very timid about saying I love you. And you're right, they show it in different ways. So they'll show it in different ways. So this holiday season, you can be an investigator and figure out, I wonder, that's what that means. Oh, they're telling me they love me. Oh, this terrible sweater that I'm getting is an act of absolute love. Or even darker than that, like this crazy insult is attached to this incredible amount of fear that something bad's going to happen to me if I don't make the decision that they want me to make. It like goes very deep. It's very layered. Yeah.
That's absolutely amazing. Being aware of how people give love. I think that's also a very important factor.
Very well said. Yes, very well said.
I love it. So let's go to the first one.
Okay, the first one's my favorite, but it's also the hardest.
Okay, so here we go. So try to leave your armor, malware, self-righteousness, defensiveness, ego, and the urge to be right at the door.
That's right. And that defines all we are. We are all of that person. You hear the word Trump, I can say Trump, and it elicits a billion responses across the globe, right? And so if I want to be right about what my experience is, if I want to be right, if I want to hold on to this thing, that thing that you did is hurting me and the choices that you make are killing me, then the family gathering is going to be really, really tricky. But if you can make a conscious effort to understand that your guard, like when you're saying those sentences, your guard is super high up. Your armor is at full battle mode. If you can start, being like, okay, I don't need this cuff. I can take off this like saddle shoe. I maybe don't need the spurs. I maybe can leave the grenades outside. And you can start unarming yourself. You can start being like, I don't maybe need to be as self-righteous about this. I can detach this sentence from my ego, even if it's diametrically, even if your parents are saying the most racist, terriblest, awfulest crud, there is a story behind why that is their experience. I want to know what the story is. You sit down and you tell me, you know what, I don't like black people. My thing is, my initial gut reaction is not going to be offensive. I'm not going to be offended. I'm going to be super curious and be like, why, what happened? Like, what's going on? Who hurt you? Basically, literally, who hurt you? Who hurt you is going to be my default. But that's me as as my profession and as a human. I'm going to be super curious about the thing that wounded you. And within 10, 20 minutes, you will understand, oh, you're not racist. You were just hurt by something. Or you believed in all the rhetoric that was poured into your brain during the indoctrination of parenting, which sometimes parenting can be indoctrination, you know. But I know that I'm fighting against something else that is not a human experience. Something in you dehumanized something, made you feel less than human. And then this was the result. This is what the machine is spitting out. But I am an emotional tinkerer. So you're going to bring a car, like an automobile that's like making noise. I'm not going to kick it. I'm not going to try to get rid of it. I'm not going to junk it. I'm going to open the hood and be like, where is it broken? What got in here? You know what I mean? Let me take this. Let me take this nail out of this tire. And isn't that better? And so if you can get to your sense of self psyched up enough that you can leave all of that stuff at the door and just move into a more gentle space if you can, in small ways if you can. Okay, I'm going to hear the sentence, but I'm not going to react. I'm going to hear this particular series of sentences, but it's not going to affect my emotional or my nervous system. If you can do that, then you absolutely 100% win the holidays with your family. You go in, you come out, you win.
I love that. But what's very fascinating to me is the idea that we know our family members already. We already know what can trigger them. We already know what can cause a violent reaction towards them, but we still choose to do it anyway,
Yeah, of
which
course,
which
yes.
sucks.
Yes,
because we love
absolutely.
these people.
Absolutely. And that is because we have been raised in the society, we've been taught, we've been programmed, whatever it is, to respond to the fire, to the flame. So I'm going to match your flame for my flame. Underneath that flame is attached to that thing, that fodder. The fodder for me is the emotional stuff. And underneath that fodder, that fodder is made up of the chemistry, right? We haven't talked at all about the chemistry that's going on inside your brain, inside your body as this is happening. It's completely out of our control. In many ways, it's completely out of our control. So I know that sentence that you're saying as me going into this is linked to a feeling that you're feeling, is linked to something that's going on inside your mind. Sometimes we are dealing with clear mental illness.
Okay.
You are off the rails with what you're saying and what you're doing. In my mind, I put it more towards like, it's a kind of dementia. It's a kind of like brokenness that happened that's very much more broken than I can fix. I can either get really mad at it and be like, be sane, dementia patient. You know what I mean? Doesn't make sense. We would never do that to somebody who we know has something like Alzheimer's. We wouldn't yell at them to get it right. We would just go in and understand, and be maybe a little bit concerned. I think that concern applies to a lot of things that are happening behind closed doors in families. Not that it's not diagnosed, and I'm not saying it's dementia. I'm just saying that it's something that broke in the mind, that has gone a bit wonky, that we're trying to deal with it in rational ways by presenting rational arguments and being logical, and that's never going to work because the thing is broken. It's not ever going to be able to take your sentences and your sentence structure and the words that you're putting together and be like and equal what you want it to equal, which is to be right. So instead of fighting it, I'm just going to be very curious about it and maybe sometimes feel a little bit bad about it if I know that they're hurting because of that thing. If all of the family members no longer talk to this person because of the way that this person makes them feel, I'm going to feel really bad for that family member because that family member needs hugs and smiles and care more than anybody else in the room. And that's how I approach it. That's how I approach it. Yeah.
That's very powerful because when you feel isolated towards a social gathering,
it's the worst.
that's more than, I think that is not healthy for your mental health.
Exactly.
A lot, right?
Exactly. And if you're coming into this, so those are the top 5.
Yeah.
There's this bonus that I threw in that if you can't do these things, right? If you can't you can't sort of reconcile with your nervous system in a way that gets you there, then just be a warm presence. Bring a warm pie.
I cannot be warm.
I can't. I'm gonna still be cantankerous, but I brought all these gifts. I got you all a pen set. I got you all, and just bring something that makes makes the situation warmer. So I brought everybody a scarf or just some gesture that makes it so that when you come in, there's warmth around you. And that you're giving out that warmth. And if that's the only thing that you can do because you're going to be in a fist fight later with somebody else, that's okay. At least you laid the stage. You know what I mean? At least you laid the stage and contribute that when you leave, you can feel good about so that you don't end up just feeling cruddy about it.
That's so true.
Yeah.
And I uncovered something that I want to incorporate with this one, with what you're saying.
Sure.
And I realized that being warm in terms of Thanksgiving, like you said, giving gifts, I think that's also related with making people safe. around you.
Absolutely. And
and
absolutely.
and that's why we also act up, right, as human beings, because we don't feel safe in an environment or with a person that we're talking to, and we have this fight or flight mode that reacts more than before we ever think about it.
Exactly right. That's
So
yes,
that's
amazing.
important.
That's amazing, and that's literally what's happening to us. We are very simply fearful. We're fearful of being hurt. We're fearful of being rejected. We're fearful of being seen as being ridiculous. The people that are afraid of feeling and looking like the most ridiculous are the ones that ridicule the most. So to me, that's a huge highlight. The person that's like insulting, and that's the person that inside feels the most vulnerable. It's so crazy that it works that way, but that's literally how it works. And this is kind of not new information. It's just that now I'm taking the time to be like, oh, that's what that is. Oh, this is what's going on. So after hours, hundreds and hundreds of hours of observation to understand, oh, this is fear-based, and exactly what you're saying. If the space is not safe, make every attempt to be the safest thing in that space. You make every attempt for you to be the safest thing in that space if that space is not safe. And if you can make it so that you can make the space safe, then do that.
I love it because I think that's also how other people calm down instead of saying, "Hey, calm down."
Yeah, that doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
Exactly. It irritates.
incenses you.
Yeah, it's like gasoline on the fire,
Exactly.
right? But I think that's very important what you said. That I also realized recently that when someone is frantic or having that flight or flight mode, it's very important to stay grounded. You need to be that ground that really holds them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, that's very, very, very accurate. And sometimes it's harder than others. And sometimes all it takes is, hey, what do you need? And sometimes you ask the, hey, what do you need question, and you get your head bitten off. And when that happens, you just, beep, boop, just back out of the room and feel like, okay, you let me know when you're ready. Because you can also self-protect, right? You don't have to
Yes.
go in. I will never tell you to put yourself in a dangerous situation. That's not at all what this is about. This is to make the space as safe for you as it is for everybody else around you. And if it gets too hot in that kitchen, absolutely get out. Get out. Go for a walk, go to the store, bring back goodies, whatever it takes to make sure that you're protecting yourself too if the situation is very dire. But for most of us, we're not going to be in those extreme situations. It's mostly just like the yelling uncle or the drunken rant about the political environment. And then those kind of cases, you can lighten the mood, you can shift, you can listen, just listen without judgment. And then at the end of this rant, be like, you know what, you were right about this. Tell me more about this. And then watch the rant absolutely melt away to storytelling, to give way to something much more beautiful and much more, I think, impactful. And it just shifts people out when they get a chance to tell their story without having to feel like they're being defensive. And so you leave your defenses at the door too. Try not to be as riled up and as knee-jerk about your reactions too. Defensiveness is really huge. If you can take that part of your armor off, it leaves the space open to be able to listen and hear with your whole heart.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And what I'm getting in this conversation also is that if you cannot be a better conversationalist in this Thanksgiving, at least be an open listener
Absolutely.
without any judgment, and don't take it personally with what people are saying, because again, not everything is about you. It might seem like it, but
Yeah.
it's not always about you.
Yeah, it's really hard. It's one of the hardest things to do as a human is to imagine that somebody else's hurt, wounds, experiences are far worse than yours.
Yeah.
Far worse. And I think it takes somebody with a little bit of, like, I have an incredible amount of privilege with the way that I was raised, the way that I was loved in my household, the way that we had a lot of humor, the way that we, traveled the world as Air Force brats. And so I come from an incredible place of being able to be like, when I walk into a space, I know that my experience of being was probably much, much less painful than yours. And that's the
Right.
great, then that's the space where I come into the situation. That's the mindset that I have when I come into a situation, is how can I hold this incredible space that I'm carrying within me and extend it out to you. as a person seeing another person. But most of the time we demand to be seen, but we don't want to
Yes.
see the other people in front of us. We demand to be heard. We demand to be understood, but we're not willing to understand, see it. It's harder for us. It's not, well, we're not taught to do it,
Yeah.
right? We're taught to like defend. And so this is, yeah, I can defend later. In this place, I'm going to defend you. Or in this place, I'm going to honor you. I'm going to let you watch this battle play out so that it doesn't feel like a battle, or so it becomes a battle that you absolutely won. Yeah.
That is profound.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
very profound.
Thank you.
And I think that will help a lot of people.
I hope so.
I hope so. I hope so. So if you're watching,
Yeah, if you're watching, it's a little bit parallel to things that have been said. Some of this stuff is not new, but just the way it's put together, I think, and it really is an invitation. It will never be a you should do this. It is a, if it didn't feel good and you're a little bit worried, then maybe these are some things that you could do. And then the best gift that you can give this holiday season is to literally, honestly, truly see. Don't be as concerned about being seen, but just really truly see the people that are in front of you with your whole soul, your whole spirit, your whole being, and then theirs as well.
yeah. Just one note on that. As a visual learner, I find it very helpful for me to visualize this trauma or trigger points to people as literal wounds in their body.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
that helps me realize that, hey, these people in front of me are also
They're all
broken.
mummies. They're all mummies. Everybody's walking around mummies, like bandaged here, bandaged there. Everyone's
but
got them.
broken,
Yeah,
but
everyone's
broken.
broken. Everyone. And no one gets away. It's like unfortunately, death doesn't discriminate, right? Death is coming
Yeah.
for all of it. But neither does mental health. Neither does pain, wound, struggle for sure. It just does not discriminate. It doesn't care if you're rich, you're poor. It doesn't care. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It's coming for you. You're gonna be upset, sad, depressed at some point in your life. If you're wired that way, it's gonna hit you harder than it's gonna hit others. But it hits us all.
Yeah.
And a great disservice that we do is to think that it only hits us. It's
Yeah.
only my struggle. Nobody else is dealing with this stuff. And what I say is, nope, everyone else, I feel kind of bad. I'm like, crud, Ola, is that what you're carrying? So all human mummies, everyone
Yes.
walking around like human mummies.
Yeah, so let's I mean that's very helpful for me to realize that I should stop doing that.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
can try. You can practice. It's
Yeah.
not going to happen overnight, but yeah, it might not happen overnight. It might happen completely overnight after listening to just this one podcast
Yeah.
alone. But yeah, to go easy on yourself as well, because a lot of those wounds are self-inflicted, unfortunately. Another
Yeah.
episode, an
Yeah.
episode for another time.
Okay,
Yeah.
so to wrap it up,
Yeah.
let's just put a summary on
Sure.
in a few sentences. What really helps us to survive in few sentences? Thanksgiving.
I think mindset, mindset and heart set. If you can go with mindset, heart set, grace, and approach it in a much more gentle way, and approach yourself in a much more gentle way, then all of the things on that list, the top 5 list, I think, will come much naturally. They'll come much more naturally and be very, very easy to do. It won't feel like a chore. And the more that you do it outside of, Thanksgiving and the holidays, the more natural it becomes. It will become as easy to you as breathing in and breathing out. And that's what we're hoping to get for everyone.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
So let's wish everyone to have a
happy holidays.
great
Yeah.
Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Oh my
Happy holidays, everyone.
God.
Season's greetings. And look for our next episode on how to pick the best gift for the people that you love in your life. All right. Thank you.
Bye.